Hello, everybody. Welcome to JV Nonsense. I am Victor.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Shanti.
We brought Shanti on today to talk about relationships. So the goal today is just to learn a little bit more about Shanti, who's an expert, in my opinion, with relationships.
I would definitely say she's a professional when it comes to relationships.
I think they're just referring to my emotional trauma, honestly.
That could be. It's very possible. Shanti's I met Shanti in the local gym here in Georgia, and she's been through quite a few relationships, and I thought to myself, who better to bring on the podcast and talk about relationships? And Shanti's name came to mind.
Oh, that's really flattering.
And
Jason.
I looked at Victor and I was like, Victor, what do you think? And Victor's like, oh yeah,
100%.
definitely.
She would be the best pick for the job.
I have stories, that's for sure.
So tell me a little bit about your current relationship scenario. Well, we'll try not to use names here.
Oh yeah, we can't hurt anybody's feelings.
We don't want to do that.
Like
what happened and kind of from the beginning.
the most recent.
Yeah, the most recent to start.
I met this guy on Bumble like 2.5 years ago. We went on one date. Really nice dude. And then it just kind of fell off. The pandemic happened. We didn't really see each other, but we still kind of kept in touch here and there. And then randomly he asked me out about a month ago. And
what attracted you to him? Physical or mental?
I'm not so much of a physical person. Like, I don't really have a definitive type. It's more personality and energy wise, you know, who's going to match my energy and who's going to allow me to kind of be my most authentic self, and also who's going to be their most authentic self with me.
Oh, so it's more like a intellectual relationship that you're really looking for, not necessarily physical.
Absolutely.
Are you telling me that if a guy was very overweight, he came up to you, you'd still give him an opportunity?
I think that the way that you take care of yourself also reflects like how you feel about your place in the world. So I think that taking care of yourself and taking care of your health is also a good reflection of who you are mentally.
Oh, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah,
me as well. So what is a huge turnoff for you in a man? Right off the jump.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is it's stubbornness, in the sense that like they can never be wrong. Like it's their ego getting in the way of them actually learning something, or like, I don't know. I read this quote and it's like, you can't learn what you think you already know.
Wow,
that makes sense.
And
that's deep.
I think that a lot of people are like that, but like just me personally, if I have a partner and they're just unwilling to kind of expand or like maybe give in to the fact that maybe I know something that they don't know.
Yeah, man, woman, circle, square. If you can't realize when you're wrong about something, you know, if you just think you know
I'm
it
always
all.
wrong.
Yeah.
That's how I've been married for so long.
That's a good thing.
I'm always wrong. Listen, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you want tips on staying in a good relationship,
wrong
you
too.
are wrong.
I mean,
it doesn't matter. You're wrong.
But that's not necessarily true. I think that's everyone's wrong in one situation or another.
No, I'm always wrong.
Okay.
I might be speaking only for me, but I'm always wrong.
There's things that you are right about that I'm sure your wife is also like.
Even when you're right, you're wrong. But you learn to live with it.
Yeah. You got to swallow the pride. And I you know what surprises me is that the younger generation, and maybe I'm just picking on the younger generation here, but I noticed that the younger kids, at least with my daughters, they don't care. Like, they're just like, whatever. Like, my generation was more of a where we swallowed our pride and was like, yeah, we'll make it work. But like, I noticed the younger kids are they just don't care.
I think it's the casualness of relationships in general now. It's like, if you like say you're dating somebody for like a year or two and you guys break up, it's like, oh, okay, well, you can just go on an app and find a new partner in like 10 minutes, you know?
Yeah, we didn't have apps.
It's just like how casual relationships have become. There's no really, there's no necessity to actually like put in
effort.
because the whole idea of courting has completely changed. Like you put in like what when you were growing up, when you were dating.
Yeah, I put in a lot of effort for sure.
But there's a courting period, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you don't have that now.
What's it like now?
Everyone just expects like sex right off the bat.
No.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, sex is casual. At least it's become casual.
So you go on this app and you find this guy that we're talking about on here. Are you telling me that he expected that right out of the gate?
No,
oh, okay.
He not at all. I think he was. I feel like he and I could have been very good friends. Like we had that more of that kind of connection there.
It was a tight intellectual start of the relationship.
I would say so. I mean, that's kind of rare to find on apps, which is I think what you asked me, like what attracted me to him. I think that's what initially attracted me to him. It's like, oh, so he's not just like trying to find a
casual partner.
Yeah.
So did you read something in his bio or something and you were like, oh, this guy's kind of interesting?
I don't know. I was 2.5 years ago.
Oh.
I don't
remember.
I want to ask you, how does the whole app thing like work? Do you feel comfortable just meeting these strangers? Because I mean, I'm young too, like come from the younger generation, but I never used a dating app still. So I don't really know. Do you feel comfortable not knowing these people, but knowing that they're comfortable enough with themselves to put themselves on a dating app?
Victor's really trying to say there's a lot of creepy dudes out there.
Yeah. And he's not wrong. I mean, I think you really have to use your best judgment whenever you're interacting with these people. And typically, once you guys are messaging back and forth, within the first few messages, you can really like feel it out of like, oh, okay, this dude's a creep, or like
just you know
this dude just wants one
your
thing.
Your intuition kicks in,
yeah,
and you could just tell if he's a creep or not.
Exactly. And I mean,
nice.
I think that most girls can sense when someone is being creepy, like very quickly. Like we're conditioned to have at least a little bit of preservation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I understand. You could feel the genuine.
Yeah.
Like the genuine feeling from somebody rather than you know somebody
Exactly.
that's being just creepy.
And oftentimes like these apps, like you asked how they work, right? So there you have like you have a ton of apps out there just designed for dating. I think I've only used 2, Tinder and Bumble. Tinder is very straightforward. It's like if you like someone, you swipe right. If you don't like someone, you swipe left.
That's pretty simple.
Very simple.
If you like each other, then you match, and then you can
hold up a second. You're on this app. You're only looking at a picture, so you have to have some physical attraction to the person.
Yes, but it's not just pictures. I think they've expanded it to where you can have like 6 pictures or videos, and then like they have like prompts where you can answer questions about yourself, and you can write yourself a little bio. You can attach your Instagram and your Spotify, so like the person could get a sense of who you are.
Yeah, I like that they're doing more with it rather than just the picture and just swiping left or right, because I feel like if you do it just like that, then it's mostly based on physical attraction rather than actually getting to know somebody.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people just use it for kind of like validation reasons. Like I know a lot of people that just use it and never meet anybody from there. It's just the kind of attention aspect of, oh, someone finds me attractive enough to swipe right.
Couldn't you just get that on like Instagram or somewhere else?
Yeah, but it's a different platform. Like Instagram is used for a variety of things. At least with this one app, it's designed for one thing.
Got it.
Right. So
and the generation probably knows that.
Yeah.
Going into it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So
it
that
gives
would
them
be Tinder.
a higher sense of, I guess it would be more
accomplishment. Is that what you're thinking?
I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out the right word.
I think it would be accomplishment. It's like I went on this app and I kind of won this.
Yeah, I guess it would be accomplishment then, if that's what it gives them.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Validation.
Yeah.
You would think all the hearts on Instagram would be enough, you know?
The hearts are never enough.
Yeah.
Sadly. So going back to this guy, what happened? I mean, it sounded like it started off really good, and then what ruined the relationship for you?
I think the idea of having somebody that you're like, you match your energy very well, you guys have a lot of fun, like it's very much a friendship. At least that's kind of how I thought about it whenever I sat down and I was really kind of examining the way we interacted with each other. I wouldn't say like the relationship was like ruined per se, because he didn't do anything wrong, really.
Did you just lose something happened like from the beginning? It was really strong and then you kind of lost.
I think I was looking for someone to I've put higher standards out for the kind of partner I want, and I've been through so many bad relationships in my life to where at this point I'm very quick to discern if a relationship is going to be long term for me or not.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he did anything wrong. I do think that we moved a little bit too fast once we did start actually dating. Like, he asked me to be his girlfriend within like a week and a half of us dating, and I think I broke up with him after 10 days.
Wow.
That's way too soon.
And you know, like that, just that kind of progression, I think I sat back and I was like, oh, okay, like this was rushed. I know we've known each other for this long, but like we really didn't get to know each other well enough.
So are you saying that that Victor had asked, what's a turnoff for you? It almost sounds like to me that you're saying a turnoff is if you're moving too fast.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Because if you ask me to be your girlfriend after a week and a half, like you'll still want to ask me in a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can wait. You can show a little bit of patience. You can try to win me over, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm a prize, but or it's a game in a sense.
But you want to be treated like you are. I mean, all women should be, in my opinion.
But that's not how this generation of men think.
What's wrong with you people?
A lot.
What the hell? I can teach you a lot.
I don't know.
That's totally messed up.
But it's kind of wishy-washy, though, because some women in this generation would tell you that's not how it's supposed to be as well.
Well,
right?
there's always the outliers,
like,
right?
With the equality and everything, right?
I think that, I know you and I have had conversations of like feminism and like women's equality. I think that in relation to like romantic relationships, I think that there still should be a chase aspect, but it's not necessarily that the guys should only be chasing the woman.
Right.
Like, there should be a little bit of reciprocity there where you both feel wanted, and you both feel chased, and you both want to get to know each other deeper before having this big commitment.
I think that breaks up a lot of marriages too. Like, people just start to give up their, I don't know if it's laziness, but I can kind of feel that, it's like, at least with me and my wife, we're always working at it, so that's what keeps the relationship strong. The moment you give up, you've lost, and it kills the relationship.
Agreed. Like, once you stop finding like new things to like about each other. Like, we're not stagnant people. People change over time. Like, you're a different person than you were 10 years ago. You're a different
definitely.
person than you were 5 years ago.
I think if you stop doing the little things too, like opening the door for one another, for your significant other and stuff like that.
And your daughter's boyfriend brings home flowers and makes me look bad. We won't talk about that though, Victor, will we?
Oh my goodness.
No, it's all good. No, Victor's like opened that door for me, which is great because I mean, I got lazy, we've been married over 20 years now, and Victor was like, hey, you need to be bringing her home flowers and opening the door. I'm like, oh shit.
I think it's chivalry. The word, I think that's the word, chivalry. Some lady told me when I was at work one day, she's like, don't let chivalry die, or something like that. And I was like, I mean, I wouldn't let it die, because that's just what I was taught as a child, open the door for
How old was this woman? Was she like older?
She was an older woman. Yeah, she was an older woman.
She's giving the advice.
She's giving me good advice.
Yeah.
At least for my relationship.
No doubt.
Like, from a female perspective, a girl will, like, we don't care about how you look. We care about how you make us feel. And stuff like that makes us feel like you're thinking about us, that you're being thoughtful. And I think that's, like, when you stop being thoughtful, you're right. Like, that's when relationships end.
I mean, I just heard a really key point. So if you're listening, that's important. You better be paying attention, because this is like really good information to have.
It's
like, I wish somebody gave this to me when I was like 16.
It's how you make them feel. So
it's important.
Listen.
So back to your relationships, it's like, tell us about, like, I guess, what has failed in previous relationships. And I know you've got a story of like a really bad one, so maybe we'll start with that one.
Oh, great.
Yeah, no names, just talk about
not.
John Doe here. So Mr. John Doe, what did it start out good? Like, how did you meet him?
So I was probably like 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
For reference, I'm almost 24 now. And I was working at a restaurant, and he started working there. And, you know, like, working in a restaurant, everyone's like borderline sexual. Like, everyone's like making sexual jokes.
They joke around. It's
that's
the
just
norm.
kind of how restaurants are. And so he and I would always flirt, and it was, you know, there was always that attraction there. And he ended up, I think I actually asked him out first.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm don't care. Like,
you're ballsy.
I always ask out the person first, honestly.
That's crazy.
Always?
Pretty much. Like, for most of my dating life, I've always made the first move. But I ended up asking him out, and he's like 5-6 years older than me at this point. Yeah.
But
so
something happened. You triggered.
Yeah.
You know, what was it?
What do you mean, what triggered?
What made you go that far to ask him out? I mean, something attracted you to him.
Yeah, I think he wanted to be a teacher. He seemed like a really like sensitive, kind of like artistic guy. Also, he was, you know, tall, dark, handsome.
Yeah, that matters.
That matters. It kind of just seemed like the whole package, honestly.
Okay.
Of like, he's attractive, he's in school, he wants to work with kids, he, you know, is a family kind of oriented guy.
Wow. He sounds almost perfect.
Yeah, he
Almost
sounds like
perfect.
Mr. Perfect.
Right?
It's sorry to say that this story is not going to end the way I think it's going to end.
No, it's not. So we ended up going out on a date, going out on a few more dates, and then I think after a couple months, I mean, he was very good at courting though. Like, we definitely like went on a lot of dates before making a commitment to each other. He would, you know, come to my house and just drop me off like ice cream and a bottle of wine if I was sad.
So he had game.
He had
some game.
He had game. Like, he knew how to get a woman.
Okay.
You know, I ended up moving in with him like after 3 or 4 months, which was a mistake. Never give up your independence.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But
maybe
you,
not never, but just when you're
right
ready.
off the bat.
But you learn
that's just
something
too
about a
short.
human being when you live with them.
Exactly.
That's totally different than somebody that you're dating, right?
Exactly. Like, I would, when I'm in a position to get married with somebody, like, I definitely have to live with them for at least like a year and a half, 2 years before making like the ultimate commitment.
That seems fair.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
Fair amount of time.
They say it takes 2 years of living with somebody that you really understand who they are.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just to know them.
Yeah, because there's all the unspoken mannerisms and all the weird
Behaviors.
habits and behaviors. Yeah, the sleep talking.
Snoring.
I didn't know sleep talking was
The
a bad
restless
thing.
leg
Sleep.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Sleep farting. I'm not going to say any names on here, but
Moving on.
What happened there? We ended up dating for about almost 3 years, I want to say. During that time, I wasn't like taking great care of myself. I was working a lot. I didn't really work that hard in school.
Under a lot of stress.
I was under a lot of stress. Well, I was living with my boyfriend and his roommate.
Okay.
And he was almost done with school and kind of like wanted the financial support there, I guess I should say. So like there'd be months where he's like, hey, I can't cover like my portion of the rent. And I'm like, okay, don't worry, I got it. But I'm also in school. I'm also paying my portion of the rent. I'm also paying for groceries and utilities. Like, I had responsibilities.
But you lived with him, and how long did you live with him? Like 2 years or more?
I want to say like a year and a half, almost 2 years.
That's a pretty long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long time. And I very much got comfortable in that life of like trying to take care of somebody else, but at the same time, I was very unhappy with my own life. I felt like I wasn't really progressing. I wasn't getting anywhere with with my goals. I didn't really have clear direction. During most of that time, he was cheating on me.
Oh, geesh.
Like
How did you find out?
I found the first time I found out. Yes, there were multiple times that I found out. We'll get into that, but the first time I found out, it was the night that I moved in. After like 3 or 4 months of being together, I moved in, and it was that night his phone was like going off, and he wasn't really used to me being there all the time, anyways, right? So his phone was just going off in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I have class at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, dude, like turn your phone off. So I just grabbed his phone, and there was this like he didn't have a passcode or anything on his phone, which, I mean, if you're cheating on someone, like, what? Have a passcode on your phone at least. Protect yourself.
He's an interesting fella.
He didn't give a damn.
No, he really didn't. So, like, I just tapped whatever notification was, and he was just getting straight nudes from, like, I'm not going to describe this girl, but she looked like the exact opposite of me.
Okay.
So, seeing that, I'm like, okay, is this what you want? Like, this person is the exact opposite of me in body type, like facial features, literally everything. I'm like, is this what you want? Because that's not me. And like,
how did that make you feel though at the moment you seen that? I mean, you must have been devastated.
Well, yeah, I'm like a 19-year-old girl. I moved in with my boyfriend for the first time. I don't have a apartment to go back to. Like my lease was going to be up in like a month, so I ended up staying with I think I moved back into my old apartment for like a couple weeks because I still had that little space, but I didn't have anywhere to go. Like I had to get an emergency contract with another apartment complex after that.
Was this guy, and this was early, you said early on in the relationship, he started doing that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just, I don't think
it still bothers you because I can see that you're getting emotional right now over it. Like it really gets under your skin.
I would never treat somebody like that. Like if you don't want to be in if you find a reason to look elsewhere in your relationship, like if I had wandering eyes in my relationship, I wouldn't be in a relationship.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree.
I have the respect for somebody to just not
break it off,
to not hurt them.
Yeah.
So you said it happened multiple times though.
Yeah.
Did you leave after the first time, or did you leave?
I moved out the next day, and we decided to work on the relationship while I lived.
I can't believe you
else.
even let him have an opportunity. He's a scumbag. You're a scumbag, whoever you are.
Straight scumbag.
John Doe, you're a scumbag.
Yeah, I think at that point I was just really kind of confused. Like I didn't really have a support system. This is when I lived in New Mexico, so my family had already moved to Georgia. I didn't have a good support system, and I'd kind of made him very important in my life. I did definitely like put him on a pedestal.
He didn't deserve it.
So I wanted to make it work. Like I loved him. I genuinely loved him, and I wanted to make it work.
I don't think anybody should be put up on the pedestal.
No.
And that's where I think
you have to earn it, right? Constantly earn it.
Even when you're in a relationship long term, I don't think anybody should be on the pedestal. You have to be okay with that person. Anything can happen in life. You know, bad things can happen sometimes. And that
have faults
that are out of our control. So, for you to be so dependent on one person, you have to be okay if anything happens to that other person, whether they leave you or whether it's their time. And they pass on, you kind of have to.
You and I have a similar mindset in that.
You got to depend on something higher,
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I was saying earlier of like, don't give up your independence. And I mean it in the sense of like, if you have a partner in your life, it's because you want them and that's what they add to your life, but not that because you need them. It's not because you need them to be happy or be yourself, like
filling a hole that you have or something.
Exactly.
Right?
Like maintain your independence when it comes to like, I mean, I think financial independence is huge because I'm still on a car loan with this guy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but also like emotional independence, you know.
Do you still communicate with him?
I had to I think like 6-7 months ago because he missed a few car payments and I like threatened him with a lawyer.
This guy's an asshole. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
That just sucks being tied in, you know.
It does.
You want to be done with it. It's over with and done with, except
and trust
now
me,
you're tied in with this asshole.
I've tried so many times. I've called him so many like not recently. When we first broke up, I'm like, okay, you need to figure out a way to like refinance your truck. That way, like you can get me off your lease. And
he just wasn't having it.
He's like, well, I'm going into, I'm not going to say which branch, but I'm going into military. I have a baby on the way because yes, he got someone pregnant.
While he was with you?
I can't say if it was while or like literally right after, but he did cheat on me with that girl.
Oh my goodness, this guy.
Scumbag deluxe.
He's like, well, I just have too much going on. I don't really know how I'm going to refinance.
You do have a lot going on.
And I'm like, well, now that you're in the military, you have more financial options. So like figure it out. And he just never did. And I just like don't want to have a conversation with him. Like as long as he's paying, like, and I can monitor that on my end, as long as he's paying, hey, my credit's going to go up once that's paid off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it will help.
I deserve that after the emotional turmoil.
You deserve way more than that. That's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. So this guy, you were in a relationship, you moved in with him, you found out, it sounds like you were on and off for a while with him, and then at some point he kept cheating and you broke it off, or what happened? What killed it for you?
It's really sad to say that the cheating wasn't what broke us up initially. I mean, it was, but it wasn't what like ended the relationship for sure. I think yes, he was talking to girls the whole time, and I know this because I had people like reaching out to me. I'm not proud to say that I did go through his phone a few times, and I saw that, but like I don't know.
I'm glad that you did, because this guy does not deserve you.
Yeah, he didn't deserve the privacy, honestly.
He went on vacation with me a couple times. He went to like Mexico with me and like our friends, and he also went to India with my family. And he said that like on a couple of times when he was like messaging girls, he'd be like, oh yeah, I went by myself to go find myself. I needed some time alone. And it's like, sir, my parents paid for your ticket. Like, you're a broke bitch. Stop acting like that.
Exactly.
To find himself.
Yeah, just to like talk to more girls.
He's a Buddha. He had to go find himself
in Cancun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
After like 2.5 years, I think I was like, okay, my life really hasn't progressed. I'm not doing well in school.
You weren't taking care of yourself.
I was like almost 200 pounds. I was super overweight. I was drinking a lot. And I had blown through all my money trying to support both of us. Like, it was hard. Like, my credit was trash. I literally gave everything of myself to try to make that relationship work. And you could tell just by the state of my body and like my mind that it was destroying me. So I had a conversation with him where I told him I wanted to move to Georgia to be closer to my parents and transfer schools. That way I could kind of kickstart my life again.
Yeah, start over.
The agreement was that he was going to finish his degree in New Mexico, and then and that would take like one more semester, and then he would move to Georgia with me.
Okay.
Right? So I moved to Georgia by myself. Like, I packed the house up. I dropped him off at the airport, and I still had to pack the house up and like pack my car up and drive from New Mexico to Georgia and move with a dog.
Is that the dog that you have now?
Yeah, Finn.
Super cute dog.
He's a peach. We love him.
Shout out Finn.
Oh, he's got a big butt for a dog. I kind of love it.
Maybe he's working it out in the gym.
Honestly. And he was doing study abroad for his last semester. And he went with his cohort, and there was a girl in his cohort that he was always like taking pictures with. Like, they'd like I'd see on his Snapchat that they were like rolling around in bed together.
That's what he was studying. Why he was out there.
Female anatomy.
Bed rolling.
No, it was this other skank he was studying.
And she was engaged.
What?
Like she had a fiance. Yeah.
Wow,
Like,
this guy
it's
is a scumbag.
It's just wild. Like they deserve each other truly. But it was like weeks of him telling me like, oh no, we're just friends. Like we just hang out in the bedrooms because there's nowhere else to sit.
There's nowhere else to sit.
Victor,
They don't make chairs abroad, apparently.
They don't make chairs in Austria, apparently. So stupid.
For a guy to sit there and say that kind of stuff and think that a girl's gonna fall for that blows my mind.
Oh,
like he really thinks that's gonna work.
No,
nowhere to sit.
He was the king of gaslighting, honestly. Like anything I had to say was like he would turn it around and make me feel like I was crazy for even thinking it, which I mean, I think at that point I'd like kind of take myself out of the environment that I was in so I could see a little bit more clearly, and I was less likely. I didn't give into the bullshit as much. But he deleted me on Instagram while we were still together. He deleted me on Instagram and blocked me on Snapchat, and then for like I think 4 days while they were like traveling all in Europe. And
he just didn't want you to see what was going on.
Exactly. And 4 days later, when he added me back, I was like, what the hell? So I went and I looked at his like tagged pictures on Instagram, and he was taking like these like bikini pics of this other girl. They were like taking pictures together, and like, I don't know. It was so weird.
Shake my head.
It was so weird. And I was like, okay, I messaged him. I was like, you know what? This is not like, I know that there's something going on, and I really don't care at this point. I'm not doing this with you anymore. Like, we're not together. And to this day, he will still tell me that he like never cheated on me. And I'm like, that's just, I mean, sure, dude, like live in your own reality. I don't need the closure.
Is he trying to get back with you?
Oh, absolutely not, because he got that girl pregnant. Probably like they announced that they were pregnant, like I think maybe like 3 months later or something like that.
Wow.
So
good riddance.
Yeah.
You don't need that man in your life.
No. Absolutely not.
Honestly,
he's not a man. He's a boy.
He was a POS.
He's a boy. No man should be treating a woman like that. That's crazy. Wow. So
that messed me up for a while.
I'm a firm believer that negative things in life are actually good for us because it really shapes who we are. Absolutely. As much as it was a bad experience for you, and you probably could say, maybe I want to take that back, I wouldn't, because I think it shaped you as a better human being.
Definitely
today.
made you stronger.
Yeah.
Going through something like that.
I definitely had a lot of like really crappy things happen to me when it comes to like men and relationships. And I was actually having this conversation with my old college roommate, and I was telling her, I was like, I really don't have any regrets, because at some point in my life, that's what I wanted and I went for it, and I can't regret like following my gut and like following what I wanted. Like, it taught me something, and it's an experience, and
exactly.
that's it.
You live, you learn, and you move on.
Yeah.
I think every relationship that you've had, good or bad, has definitely shaped you and will continue to shape you until you find the right person.
Oh yeah, and I think like having these negative experiences, it sucks in the moment, but it also makes you a better partner.
Yeah.
Like it makes you aware. Like I know that it maybe sounds counterintuitive to like use that pain and that kind of those really negative emotions and experiences, but it makes you a better partner. It makes you thoughtful. It makes you really challenge yourself to put somebody else first rather than your own kind of selfish needs.
Yeah, I would agree.
Everything I did wrong in my past relationships, with this relationship that I'm in now, it positively affected it, because I learned so much from those, and I learned, okay, that was toxic, that was not good. That's not the way you should treat somebody that you love and care about. And it positively affected my relationship that I'm in now so much that, I found the one, I feel like. So I can't, I don't ever have regret on any of my past relationships either, because you can find something positive in it.
How's her dad? Is he a cool guy?
Yeah, her dad's awesome.
Okay, good. Well, that I think that matters.
That definitely matters.
What would you say is the right time to say, I love you. If you're a man and you're in a relationship and you're
God.
learning, no, I think it's important that, I feel like guys just use that word and they throw it out
Yeah.
there in a relationship and they don't really understand it.
Honestly, I think that the longer you wait, the more it means, but you shouldn't wait too long. Like 3 to 4 month mark, I feel like is appropriate if you guys are. I don't know. Every relationship moves a little bit differently. I feel like with how quickly relationships move in this day and age, I feel like the 3 or 4 month mark is probably a good time. I feel like
Unless it's not working out.
Like definitely don't
if
use
it's
that
crumbling
word to
at the three or 4 month period,
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely
don't lead the
say
poor
it.
girl on
No.
if you're not feeling
If
it.
you're using that word to trap somebody, like, you shouldn't be using that word.
Yeah.
But like 6 to 8 months, I feel like is too long, because then at that point,
Really?
yeah, it's like, okay, we've been together for like 5 months. I feel like that's our world moves so quickly. I feel like that's really a good chunk of time to give to somebody.
Mm.
And then to not hear that, or like not really feel that validation. Of course, if you're showing it in other ways, everyone's love language is different.
That's what I was gonna ask
know?
you. What if they're not saying the word directly, but they're showing you in ways like that are unimaginable?
I just want to say that I'm probably that guy that forgets, and I'm going to admit it here, but it's the truth. I'm not the first to jump. It could take me 5 years to say I love you, and it's not because it's just that I'm not thinking about it. I'm so in the moment as a guy in a relationship that I'm like, I'm happy and things are good, and I tend to forget that a relationship and a woman needs that, right? They need that. It's kind of like a
It's validation.
It's a validation, yeah.
Reassurance.
Yeah, reassurance all the time. So
It's good. Well, me personally, I like the reassurance, and I feel like sometimes I kind of need that emotional reassurance in my relationship. I want it from my significant other, just to, because that's how I love. I'm very affectionate, and I love you, I love you, I love you. So I like to once in a while hear it back.
Now let me ask you a question, just from like my perspective. Does that, like, if you didn't receive that kind of those affirmations and like that kind of validation
in a childhood,
no, like in your relationship, like, do you feel like rejection almost?
I get angry.
Yeah.
Is that weird? I mean, I if I'm in a relationship and I get angry that it's not working, not maybe at the person, but I get angry in general, and I get upset, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Right? That's the stuff that goes through my head.
I communicate it with the other person, and I've let her know before that I need that too sometimes. I can say it a lot, but it's like I'm a human being too, and sometimes I need, sometimes I'm down and I just need somebody to say, "Hey, I love you. Everything's going to be all right,"
Absolutely.
So
if we weren't on a podcast, I would recommend a hug.
it doesn't feel like rejection, but it does feel like isolation.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
I don't know.
The reason I ask is because that's something very common that I heard from girls, and also like I'm a psychology major. I've taken a lot of like really cool classes on like personality and individual differences, human sexuality, psychology of women, and a constant topic that I like to bring up in conversation is the feeling of rejection and how that shapes our behaviors.
Okay.
And I think about it a lot actually in relationships, because I feel like, at least for women and in my personal experience and with talking to my friends and whatever, once a woman like feels that kind of like rejection of maybe they didn't say I love you soon enough, or
you think it damages?
Oh, I think it absolutely damages the relationship, because there's that like feeling of like, oh, like there must be something wrong with me, like I'm not good enough.
I'm learning a lot.
Is it
women
regret,
question
though?
their self-worth all the time with the most minuscule things, and
I can't imagine something like that would cause damage. And are we talking about long-term damage, or are we talking like just
we're talking in context
short-term
of this relationship,
okay,
of like the status of this relationship, I would think,
okay,
of like, oh, maybe I got my hair done and he didn't say anything. That kind of feels he's
Damn it.
He's having PTSD.
I'm guilty right now. Victor will be like, "Oh, your hair looks good." And I'm like, "Oh my god, she got her hair done?" Wow.
I mean, I can't speak for all women. I can just kind of speak to the experiences that I've heard and that I've felt. But I feel like the lack of thoughtful comments and the lack of chivalry, like I feel like that could all kind of contribute to a feeling of rejection, of not like being treated the way you should be, almost, and questioning your self-worth. And I mean, women are just so conditioned to rely on others for validation and for their self-esteem. And it's really sad, because then you have this like kind of codependence in relationships of like, well, if he's not giving me, or, you know, even in, you know, we're not talking just about like straight relationships, but like if your partner's not like giving you
all sections of what you need.
Exactly. Like if they're not feeding your soul in all these different areas, then
Sections.
That's what I was saying earlier too.
Well, I mean, sex is a big part, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
That's what I was saying though. That, you know, God is very important too, because, you know, if your significant other isn't giving you those at all times, because, you know, not because they're mean to you or anything, but sometimes they forget, you know. You need like I feel like God kind of balances it out and helps you with reassurance and in realization of knowing who you are.
I
you
didn't
know?
say the female brain is rational by any means, because that's just irrational to
Well,
have the codependence, and
that's
I
I
agree
think
with you.
I think that's just human nature.
Yeah, it is.
For most people, honestly.
It is. We all want to be desired. We all want to be wanted and feel like we have a place, that we're a part of this kind of like society. And
Wouldn't you say, though, that guy could take that information, or some do, and manipulate? Because my daughter was in a really toxic relationship where he was promising her that, like, crazy things, like he's going to get married and he's going to have kids with her, and the guy was just cheating on her. But he knew how to manipulate her based on the affirmations and things that she needs.
And that's exactly like my ex. He would promise me things like, you know, we're going to buy a house together, we're going to have kids, we're going to get married.
He's fulfilling this fantasy that doesn't really exist.
And that's why it stuck around for so long, and that's why so many women do, because they see the prospect of what their life could look like if they stayed with this person. But at the same time, like, actions speak louder than words. I feel like if you're going to like, don't tell me that you're going to propose to me like 6 times, just do it. Like,
yeah, that's
you know
weird.
what I mean? Like, don't make empty promises. Just do it. Like, move, like, for the big things in life, I feel like move in silence and show us what you've been working on, rather than talking it up, and maybe only accomplishing like a fraction of it, or like not even trying to accomplish it.
Right.
Like, don't be a talker, be a doer.
Don't be a talker, be a doer.
Damn.
Wow.
She's got some high expectations for you guys out there. Don't talk about it, be about it.
I think that's good for men to have that mentality and make sure that they understand that that's how they should move forward, and that's how they should treat a woman in a relationship.
Yeah, of course, because like I said, we don't care about everything else. We care about how you make us feel. If you make us feel secure in the relationship, like, you don't need to promise us all these things. If you're showing us that you're working towards it, you know, maybe you're still in school. Like, I mean, we're all kind of like young here. Your daughters are younger. Like, maybe the person that they're with is like still in school. They're working towards a degree, and they want to do A, B, and C with their life. Right. Right.
They have a future they're trying to build.
Exactly. Is it more useful to promise that, oh, I'm going to get to here, and then when I get to here, then we will have this? Or is it more useful to show her how hard you're working towards your goals?
Right.
And to be like, I don't know, like, because it's very difficult to have these promises and give people expectations, and then you become accountable to them. Right?
So you're saying if the guy misses the mark of the things that he promised, he's basically being judged at that moment.
Yep, automatically. I feel like
it's almost like, okay, well, I can't trust you. I can't trust that what you promised me is going to ever come to fruition.
God forbid you say something that you don't do. you know.
Well,
I'm
hey,
not going there.
if you say you're gonna if you're gonna take out the trash and do the dishes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you come, and then your wife, your girlfriend comes home, and they're like, well, shit, the dishes are still in the sink.
Yeah.
The trash is
He's
still
sitting on
full
the
in the
couch.
bin, and he's got his socks on the floor, and he's snoring on the couch. Like, okay, I guess I can't rely on him.
Mm.
And that's a big thing. I feel like if you have building a partnership with somebody, like, you have to you will have to rely on each other here and there.
Right.
You have to lean on each other to to build whatever you want to build, whether that be a family, an empire, whatever.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability is huge.
But guys can also be really great, and then you have kids, and then things turn south, and they're not the same person that they were.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot in relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have experience with that.
Well, I have a
You
lot of
give us
friends
a
that
little.
have been in divorces, and,
Mhm.
and that's the scenario. And they come to me and they're like, their complaint is they're not getting enough sex. That's reality. That's all my good
after
friends.
they have kids.
After they have kids, it goes south, and they're like, well, she's just not. And what's weird for guys, and Victor, you can agree or disagree here, but is that we get our affirmations also, at least from my perspective, from like a sexual relationship, and having that, it's like a bond that we're building together, as two humans. And when you do that, it's almost like you don't want me, you're not attracted to me anymore, that you've lost it all.
Definitely. If when that, if and when, or that it does slow down, it can definitely affect your mental state, thinking, and
Something's wrong.
Exactly. Like, oh, she's not attracted to me anymore, or something, or like, what am I doing, but sometimes I don't know, maybe I don't know, it's beyond me, honestly. I don't know the answer to it, but sometimes you just got to be patient. And I understand the females go through a lot of shit with, like, the periods and everything. I understand. I wouldn't want to go through that either. And so sometimes you just got to sit back and just be like, all right.
No. So
Well,
so I just want to clarify here, so that the guys that came to me were like months that there was no sexual relationship.
Months.
And are you talking about, like, probably, like, after kids, like postmenopausal, or like during menopause, like there's hormonal changes?
No,
most likely.
all these women were still 30s,
younger.
Oh, okay.
Younger in their primes. But I mean, they probably, each one is different. But the two that I'm thinking of, they were together for at least 10 years.
Okay, and then just all of a sudden after kids,
They just stopped.
I mean,
Now, one was because she was cheating, and then the
okay.
other one was because she wasn't interested anymore.
Well, if she was cheating,
But
that might be a reason why she didn't want to have sex with him.
That one makes more sense.
There's a whole lot of reasons that I feel like that women would stop cheating. Absolutely, there's one. But, like, if she just lost interest, there could be, like, other things. Like, there's, like, I feel like people minimize, like, postpartum depression a lot, and that can last years.
It really can.
So, like, if they had kids and her entire mental state has shifted,
Yeah.
like, of course having sex isn't probably on her mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think
depression
there's
is
one thing there.
really bad because, how can somebody think about being sexually pleased when they're mad or, like, sad about life in general? They
For
can't
sure.
find anything
Yeah.
positive. It's not really going to be a big turn on, even thinking about anything sexually. But for your buddies, like, you said months, that could be tough for somebody, and then you don't always see those two sides to the story. And so then if he were to go off and do his own thing, he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. He went off and he cheated and everything.
Well, I think he's bad because he tried to fill that spot, even though the relationship was good enough. I faulted him, at the time, and said that wasn't the right approach. That's not what you should be doing. But he went off and went down that road and basically found a solution to fill the hole that was missing, but didn't want to sever the relationship with the woman he had kids with.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me because I'm like, okay, I kind of understand what you're saying, but
Are
no.
you saying that he moved
understood
on
the
and, like,
point.
got a
You
different
understood the
partner?
point.
Are you saying that he like moved on and like he
didn't,
he found somebody else?
He didn't move on and find somebody else. He just filled the sexual part of the relationship.
He found somebody to have sex with.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wrong.
But he doesn't want.
Yeah.
It is wrong. But he doesn't want to ruin the full relationship of the person that he has kids with.
I get that, but at that point the relationship's already ruined because then
done.
the trust is broken.
Yeah, the trust is gone.
But as like, what you're saying months? What are we talking, like 3 months, 6 months?
Oh, months. Like he didn't get very specific, but I know it was more than 3 months.
More than 3 months. Like, my question is like, did he even try to like maybe go to couples therapy?
That's a good question. I never got that deep into it. I didn't ask him, but my guess would be probably not.
3 months. I feel like that's not a. I'm like personally, that's not enough time.
No,
3 months. I feel like you
years.
could handle that. I feel like if your significant other is going through something and you can't wait 3 months, like any type of depression usually would last.
To be fair, I don't want to get into specifics, but I know for sure that she wasn't going through anything at all.
Oh, okay.
That you know of.
That's true. That's fair. That's a fair point.
You never know.
Shanti,
You really never
Shanti's
know.
backing her up. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, she could have been going through something, but I also interacted with her and whatnot, and the way that he explained it was she just wasn't into, like, sex wasn't a big part of her.
It wasn't important to her.
It wasn't important to her, yeah.
But had it been previously? Or was it never really
I wonder if he recognized that. Probably not.
It probably was never important to her.
Okay.
But she did it, because they're in a relationship and whatnot. Once they had kids and shit, she's like, okay, we have the kids. There's no reason to anymore. And he's just like,
yeah,
please, no.
Well, I worked with a guy, and I remember, I'll tell you the story real quick. We were working together, and his name was Roy, and I was like, Roy, what? You seem pissed today. You're all upset. What's going on? And he says, he's not getting sex from his partner, and I'm like, you're getting married in 30 days. That's not a good sign right off the bat. So, where I'm going with this is, for you as a woman, how important is that, and where does that fall? From a woman's perspective, do you feel like you're just doing it just to satisfy the man, or what's your perspective?
No. Oh my God.
I get that everyone's different, right?
Everyone is different, but I think that in that statement where you're saying what to satisfy the man, right? I feel like that is how sex is so commonly thought of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's not intimate anymore.
It's not intimate anymore. It's transactional, and I just don't. And I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to that mentality.
That sounds too.
It's
like it has a system to it. And
what are we just saying? He found somewhere else his friend found somewhere else to go because he wasn't getting sex. If she would have just had sex with him, then he would have responded to that effort with continuing their current relationship. It is transactional.
It is. And I think for her, even if she was having sex with him, I believe that it was, like you said, transactional, and it was never intimate based on the conversations with both of them that I had. So it's not like it was healthy in any way.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the relationship was going to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. They both weren't trying, not just from sexual, but like you said, this wasn't like he was going out and buying flowers, and like it was unhealthy for both sides.
Hey, flowers aren't always the answer. A guy bought me a pineapple and I was swept off my feet.
I think my wife would throw the pineapple at me.
Unfortunately, we had to move on from that relationship.
No more pineapple, man.
But hey, he was the best fruit guy. He brought me a watermelon too.
He was a fruity guy.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, it's just, for me, it's kind of weird. It's like, why are you buying her fruit?
Because it's yummy.
Oh, it's
I'm
yummy,
a vegetarian.
but
I eat a lot of fruit and veggies.
No, that makes sense.
It spoke to my soul. It doesn't have to speak to everyone's soul, just mine.
There's weird little myths about pineapples too, and so maybe he was indirectly trying to tell you something.
Jason
like an emoji. I'm a little confused over here. Wait, where are we going with this?
Victor, would you like to explain?
I want you to explain to Jason.
Jason.
Man, I don't like being the older generation here. I don't understand.
Eating a lot of pineapple is supposed to make your secretions taste better.
Really? Is that proven?
I don't know if it is, but I mean, I still buy pineapple juice.
It's very acidic. I mean, but I guess I'm gonna look that one up later because that's a little odd.
So maybe he was, I don't know, subconsciously trying to say something. I don't know.
What do you mean?
He's like, let's cut this pineapple up right now.
Ew. I'll be right back. I gotta go gag in the bathroom.
So, wow. This took a really hard turn here at this point.
You asked me if sex matters as much to women, basically. And I think, yes, everyone's different. Men and women are different in their individual relationships. Personally, I think it's very important. Just in that previous relationship, I'm going to reference that. Like, he did withhold sex when he was, like, upset with me. Like, he would have sex with everybody but me.
Ooh.
You know? So, like...
That's messed up.
It was, yeah. Like, there would be weeks, months. I think the longest we went was, like, 2 months.
And this is the...
I think my wife would murder me over that.
The guy that went overseas?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like there would be weeks where like he would withhold sex and he'd be like, I just don't feel like it. And me, I'm like respectful. I'm like, I'm never going to try to pressure somebody. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like,
I mean, you
don't care.
I didn't know. I didn't know pressuring worked the other way for guys.
Yeah, it doesn't that I know of.
Yeah, because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah, but he would communicate to me like, hey, like you asking me makes me feel uncomfortable.
As your boyfriend?
What? Yeah.
As your boyfriend, he said
that.
Yeah. What?
Wait, are we talking about the same guy that...
Yes.
Wow.
We're talking about the same guy. So just coming from that kind of perspective of like not feeling wanted, I think that now in my current relationships, that is a very big element for me of like, I need to feel wanted. Otherwise, like, we don't need to be together.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm not saying, like, I have to rip your clothes off and you don't have to rip mine, like, every other day. Like, but just have that there. Like, have that kind of passion of and intimacy there. Like,
from a guy's perspective, I mean, yeah, some of us are built that way. We would prefer to have you rip our clothes off every day.
Well, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Men think like that. Like, that's... I think women tend to forget that, and this is my opinion, but that we're built that way, and sometimes we tend to forget that you have needs that need to be filled outside of the sexual part of it.
And inside of the sexual part of it, too. Guys are so selfish in bed.
Oof.
Oh, my God. That's why I got
You talking about, like, Minutemen?
I think that's what she's talking about.
I mean...
Okay, Jason, I'm going to go back to your statement of satisfying the man.
Okay.
This is a really big thing for me. I was literally talking about it last night with the trainer at my gym of how men use foreplay to satisfy their own needs. Right? The object of foreplay, like for a female, is to lubricate her enough for entry.
Yeah.
Right?
In theory.
Right? So that's the
Technically.
idea. It's not really for her pleasure.
Yeah.
It's so that they can penetrate.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep this as like...
Yeah, I'm wondering where
I'm
you're...
loving the technical terms.
Where you're going with this is what I'm trying to figure out.
Because it's when like a girl will go down on a guy.
Okay.
And that's not for her pleasure. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
That is not for her. That is for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But like opposite, a guy will go down on a girl just to get her wet enough so he can go in. It's not for her pleasure. It's for the object of penetration.
I can argue that sometimes the girl does the same thing though.
Okay.
Only going down and
Okay, I can see
not
that.
like fully satisfying the person.
But too often there's not even any foreplay for women, and it's just like that's uncomfortable, and there's no thought. Like I don't know how to explain.
No,
it.
I know
Do you
where you're
understand what
going
I'm
with
saying?
that. I mean, the bottom line is a lot of men don't get women off, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
when I moved out to Vegas and I worked out there, I was there for 6 years. I had some friends, and she was like, we would go over, we have like a UFC night, and it was pretty cool. And the wife, just out of the blue, she's like, he doesn't get me off, right in front of him. And I'm like, I mean, I literally, I had a beer, and I spit my beer everywhere, all over their couch. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. You probably need to work out in the bedroom. That's not something I want to know about, right?
Oh my goodness.
But she was like, well, I've got my vibrator. And I'm like, oh, listen, no.
Then you don't need him, honey, for anything.
We're just trying to watch the fights right now.
Yeah,
like.
I'm just like, I'm like, this is awkward.
Oh
looking at my wife, she's looking at me like, I don't know. I'm like, but it's funny because I tagged along with him to like help somebody move, as it was a friend of his, and we had conversation, and I'm like, dude, you've gotta satisfy her, and you're doing it wrong. And I'm telling you as your friend, like, you gotta get down there, and you gotta, if you can't perform, you gotta do the work. You gotta put the work in. You gotta put the effort in.
Other work,
and
you gotta do something.
And you don't want to do it one time and then you start getting laxed. Like, this is the way I think of it. Every time I go in, right, I'm trying to hit the next level, right? It's like a game. I'm like, okay,
you're trying to slay the dragon.
I'm in it to win it, and if I can't win it, why am I bothering?
Yep.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's so far after 20 years has worked. But the bottom line is that most men, like her ex-boyfriend, my wife has told me, her ex-boyfriend, she was like 1 minute, and I'm like, 1 minute? How? Like 60 seconds? Are we talking about the same minute?
You can't even as
How?
a man, I wouldn't even allow myself to do that. Like, I'll just be like, hold up, time out. Like, I need to just breathe for a second. Like I couldn't do that. That's so selfish, I feel like.
I'm not even sure how it happened. Like, I'm not even sure that sounds to me like you've had experience with men that have had that problem.
Sorry.
That was deep.
Oh my god.
I
don't think that it's fair to talk about that because I don't know who's listening.
That's true. That's fair.
I don't know who's listening. I don't know if
I'm talking about years
partners...
back. There might be a partner that maybe you've had a scenario where that's has happened. But are you saying that
it's more often than not where men are very selfish in bed?
Really?
More often than not. Yeah, I would say.
I am surprised to hear that because that's the opposite of I need to teach you guys some stuff, man.
Okay,
Let's
that's
start
your
another
private
YouTube channel.
Private YouTube channel.
That one's not for kids, by the way.
That's the OnlyFans.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely not.
Oh my god.
But in reality, like, that's an important part of the relationship for a woman.
It speaks to reciprocity, and that is something I'm super big about in relationships.
Really?
Like, reciprocity in every aspect.
You don't think that you could teach the man to get better and they just don't have the experience?
Men must be teachable, but like I was saying earlier about stubbornness and not wanting to take any sort of
direction,
anything.
All right.
It's like, if you're not teachable, like, if you're going to stay this person for the next 5-10 years, like, I'd rather see you grow into a much better person. Not saying that you're a bad person now, but like, we all want to grow into better people, right?
Yeah.
So I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in that relationship where, let's just say you're already in the relationship, but the sex is stale, like if you're not getting exactly what you need.
Define stale.
Stale as in he's not getting her off, right?
There's,
Okay.
like, no passion. It's like, it's
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of,
So
habitual.
how long do you wait to communicate that, or just cut off the relationship
or cut off the sex, which might have been happening to the other men that I'm talking about? Maybe they cut it off, and I don't know.
Cut it off because
Maybe they
weren't
cut it
getting
off.
what they wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, that would actually make a lot of sense, because I feel like, going back to your question, like,
talking to the mic.
oh, sorry. So sorry, guys. Going back to your question, Victor, it's like, I think it really depends on the duration of the relationship. Like, if the sex is the defining moment for you where you're like, no, the sex is bad, like, I don't want to be with this person, then you probably didn't like them that much in the first place. honestly.
But what I'm asking is like, what if they are doing everything else good and like they are your like you love everything about them, but like that one part was, you know, they weren't satisfying all your needs. Would you communicate with them and tell them, yeah, like I need this to improve, like because I you know I love you and everything.
Of course, I think that's really important, and I feel like a lot of women feel uncomfortable speaking up when it comes to their like sexual preferences, just because it's like it's not always received well.
I don't think they should be though.
But I feel like a lot of guys could receive that as like, oh well, like she's telling me I'm bad in bed.
That's good. If you're bad in bed,
you're bad
in bed.
If you're bad,
I want to know.
That's good to know. That's good to know though, because I've like held off on like maybe like speaking up because I'm like, oh, I don't want to hurt this dude's feelings. Like I don't want to like.
You're hurting him in the long run.
Well, it depends on how you. Yeah, that too, and you're not helping him. That if he moves on to another relationship, that he's gonna. You're training him to be better in a way if he's not gonna be with you.
Yeah. So what you're saying is always tell him if the sex was bad.
I think it depends on how you tell him. If you're like, okay, this isn't working, Mr. Minuteman, like that's going to hurt his feelings.
Rude, yeah.
Right. That's straight up wrong. But if you're like, hey, look, I just, you know, I guess I'm trying to formulate how would be, Victor, help me here. What would be the right approach for a woman to tell you you ain't doing it right?
Would you rather them like wait until like they were done with sex, or like maybe like as you guys are like getting into it, getting like hot and heavy, than her being like, hey, can you
maybe
do
they need to
this?
slow down.
I think the best way for a woman to let a guy know would probably be during, like you know, baby steps, like, you know, take one step at a time. Do this. Do this different.
Within a 60-second time frame, though.
I know, because you only got 60
you only
seconds.
got 60 seconds. It's sad, but I mean that I mean it's how it is.
Okay, we're
if honestly, if that's the maximum amount that you like, there's no more past 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I would say like, okay, you have to do it the other way.
Yeah.
Finish me, and then you'll get your 60 seconds. Like, that would be the only...
I thought that was the only way.
I got the most hilarious advice from someone at the gym because I was talking about this to her, and she told me, she's like, you should never let a guy enter you if he hasn't at least finished you off over the course of like a week or like 3 or 4 times. You should never let him even enter. And I was like, okay,
Jesus.
I like this perspective now. Jesus. Now my standards are higher. There
go the standards.
If a girl told me that, I mean, would it hurt my feelings? Probably when I was younger. Yeah. I mean, it would hurt my feelings a little bit, but the reality is you need to know. Like if you're not doing it right and no woman is telling you, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I was talking to my wife the other day about this podcast and we were going to do it. And she was asking questions. And I was joking around and I said, remember your ex, the Minuteman, you know? And she says to me, do you know that he's been through multiple divorces? And I'm like,
wonder why.
Wow. And I feel bad for the guy because he seems like he's a nice guy.
Nobody told him.
Nobody told him. And I'll bet you that's the problem.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to get over, honestly, because like back to like the rejection aspect of it, it's like, okay, well, I feel kind of used at this point. Like, you used me to get your rocks off, and here I am kind of like feeling like you don't have the same thought for me.
You're not putting the effort in.
No, not at all. And it's like, if you like just...
It was probably not healthy as a teenager, but I grew up in a digital age where everything was just on my phone. So like by the time like it was go time, I felt like I had watched like every video in the book to understand.
You had some education?
I can relate to you on that.
Beyond sex ed, like, I don't know. But
that doesn't excuse all the other generations.
Still, there's even still to this day, there's people that just don't even think about that. Like a woman's satisfaction, it's not even in the mind when sex comes up, and that's not the way to think about it.
No, because we're both in this together. You know, like if you want to go have sex with yourself, go have sex with yourself. Like, leave me out of it. Don't disturb my peace.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're trying, if you're
know?
looking for
Yeah.
something a little more intimate.
I don't know, but
Like if you're wanting to actually like have intimacy and not just like carnal sex, like here, let's do it together. But if you're like just gonna be like, oh, okay, let me do my thing. I'm gonna go take a shower now.
But
Have fun
that
laying
also
on the bed
screams
by
to me.
yourself.
That also might scream to me that this person may or may not have had experience under their belt.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, it could happen to anybody where they insert and then they have a feeling like, you know what I'm saying?
like
So,
it's amazing and it
exactly.
it was too
Like
soon,
it was
yeah.
designed by God to do that.
But
So,
here's where it's wrong though. The moment the man is like, "Oh, I'm good,"
Yeah.
that's where it's wrong.
Yeah.
You should be ashamed of yourself, right? Your goal is not 60 seconds; it's hours if you can. Now I know that's hard to achieve, but the idea is that that's what you're aiming for. And
60 minutes.
Yeah,
Not 60
I'm not
seconds.
saying that it should be long all the time,
No, but
but our mindset should be longer than if
Yeah.
you're doing it and it's within a 5-minute interval. You're doing something wrong.
like honestly, you could be lacking in a lot of things in a relationship as a man. Like you could maybe not be like the most thoughtful all the time, and there's certain things that women will overlook if you just finish them off.
If you compensate.
They're like I don't want to say that as a way to like escape accountability for like really important things in relationships, but I'm just saying, like, if you have that thoughtfulness for her pleasure, there will be things and like circumstances that she may overlook because
It's so good.
Take notes,
because
fellas.
she knows that you're going to take care of her.
Okay.
I don't mean that to say like go do bad things and like cheat on her and none of that.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking you were thinking that.
It's just
I'm talking
I was
about
like, don't buy flowers and
yeah,
It's
you
like-
might
thoughtful
you might not
things.
get the cussed out for not getting flowers if you're thoughtful later on.
Mhm.
So just be thoughtful.
She might overlook the fact that you didn't do the dishes and you didn't take out the trash. It's like, oh, okay, I guess it's okay this time.
Jeez
Interesting.
Louise,
I'm learning a lot.
I'm learning
See,
stuff
reciprocity. You take care of each other in one way,
Yeah.
like then she'll take care of you in this way. It's like it doesn't have to be the same
Hmm.
as
too.
long
It
as
still
the
seems
effort's there.
transactional. It does seem
Okay.
transactional though.
Most relationships, whether it be romantic or just
It could still be intimate and
friendships,
transactional.
are transactional.
I will tell you, after 20 years, it's really hard to have, when you're intimate, it's really hard to have a continuous, passionate every time scenario when you're having intercourse.
Yeah.
It's
I can imagine,
hard. It's
especially
really hard.
having a family as well. Like,
where do you
where
find
do
the
you
time?
find the time for
Yeah.
intimacy, like that, just genuine intimacy?
It's none of your business.
Oh no. I'm so happy I don't live in this house with you guys.
No, but you're right. It's really hard to find the time. It's really hard to because it's got to be the right time for her, the right time for you, and it's hard. It's
If
really hard.
when he has a
It's hard.
headache, stomach ache, sinuses, something, anything could be going.
Yeah, I
wrong.
mean, for both sides,
I have a question. Just because you've been in a relationship longer than both of us.
Okay, fire
obviously,
away.
If the passion isn't there in the very beginning, do you think that it's not even worth really trying to build off of it because it's not going to be there in the end? Like if you don't have a good, healthy amount of passion for each other in the beginning sexually,
Right.
do you think that it's
Wait, is the sex really good or is the sex mediocre, not great? What are we talking?
it doesn't have to be the best sex, but you're like, you keep going back, you keep going back for more. Like you're really
Okay.
just passionate, like when you're like together, like you're passionate for each other. Like it doesn't have to be the best sex in the world, but just the fact that you two are together.
So it's more of a sexual relationship. So I'll be straight with you and honest with you. I mean, it's not to say that there wasn't love or any of that, but when my wife and I had met, it was strictly it was all sexual, right? And that was our attraction. We didn't even take the time to get to know who we are as people, at that level. It was like years later, and we were still very passionate at that level, but we, the bonding and getting to know, like, the older that I've gotten, I've understood that I learned something new about her 20 years later, and it's exciting for me now.
Yeah.
It's like, why the hell? What's wrong with me? Why didn't I ask that years ago? And why wasn't I more, like you said, observant of being a better man? So, but to answer your question, I stayed in the relationship. I mean, it was sexual. I was young enough that I thought sex was love, and that's not what it is. And that was confusing because it took me a long time to learn. Yes, the sex is really good. That's what we're doing, but that's not love. That has nothing to do with it at that level. It's a part of it, right? But it's not all of it.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. So I stayed in the relationship because that part worked, and I'm a man, and that fills a big part of a man's needs. So for me, I stayed for a long time, but the relationship got better, not because it just naturally got better, but because we both worked at it.
Yeah. But had that passion not been there in the beginning,
I would have been gone.
Yeah. Okay.
As a man, I would have been gone. If a woman was like, I'll give you a scenario. If we go back and she was not giving me and filling me at that need, and Victor, help me here. Would you stay with a woman? I mean, for like a year, 2 years, and she's not providing anything
sexually.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, I don't want to say no straight off, but
it's okay. Like, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's your personal feeling.
Yeah, I would feel like I would feel that sense of rejection. And it would deter me.
It messes with us mentally,
yeah.
Right? It's not just what's weird for men is like, and I don't have scientific details on this, but I feel like after we have sex, and this is weird, I feel like more endorphins and all these things are letting out my body from a chemical perspective, it feels like, and I'm like in love. It feels weird to me to say this, but after sex is like the prime moment that I feel the most in love with my mate. And she always, like we lay there, we're together, and we're holding each other. Like that's the most intimate part of where I feel the most love. But when we're not getting that, it makes us question who we are.
Yeah.
And what's going on. Is the relationship working?
So that's where you find your validation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Right. Not all of it. I'm not saying that it's all or none.
A big portion of it.
It's a big portion.
All right, I got a question. So do you think you could take somebody with, like, let's just say you found somebody you really like and everything, the sex wasn't that great. Do you think you could work with them and
if they're teachable
and continue to grow on it?
If they're teachable, if everything else works and there's literally nothing else wrong with the relationship, of course. If you feel like this could be my person, of course. But it's also like, is that person open to learning about my needs and also vice versa? Like, of course, like
just being accepting of not knowing everything.
Yes,
basically what you originally said.
You can't learn what you think you already know.
No know-it-alls, fellas. Nobody likes a know-it-all.
So I will speak on that. It's funny because my wife had said to me, I mean, it was like a couple of years ago, but she was like, yeah, she's like, I was like, remember the first time? It was so great. And she's like, it's not what I remember. And I was like, whoa, are you serious right now? And you never told me? And I was upset about it that she never told me, right? And she's like, well, I had to teach you. Yep. I was like, well, I thought I knew it. No, you don't know it.
No.
You don't know. Listen, shut up and listen. That's your advice today.
Just shut up and listen.
Shut up and listen to the woman. She knows how her body works. You do not know shit.
Even if you think you do, even if like you're like, oh, I got this. Like, I've done this a million times.
You're probably still doing it wrong.
Yeah, honestly.
You're doing it wrong. But I will also say that when she teaches you, like it might be a year later, she can continue to teach you. You do not know everything, and you will never know everything. And as long as you have that mentality, I think, you're slaying the dragon, as she would say, and you're trying to achieve the higher goal, right? You said that. And you're trying to get to that next level. If you have that mentality mindset, right, and you're getting affirmations and details and teachings from your Buddha teacher here, and she's teaching you all the right things, that part of the relationship should be good. I feel like the rest, all men can learn from the rest of the relationship. Like that part is I don't want to say it's just fixable, but it's an achievable goal. And then, like, how hard is it to buy flowers? How hard is it to say, I love you when it's the right time, or hug her and spend time with her?
Be spontaneous,
Is it really that hard for men that you've been in relationships?
I'm like,
It's not. It's not.
It's
The
mind-boggling.
little things are not that hard.
but they make it seem like it's unattainable. Like I feel like at this point with a lot of guys, you like women are just kind of used to expecting the bare minimum because that's kind of all we know that we're gonna get.
Oof.
Honestly, and
That pisses me off.
and
sounds like
as
it's
a father, you have daughters. Like I doubt that that's something that you want to hear coming from one of your daughters of like, oh yeah, I get the bare minimum. Like I think I'm gonna stay with him.
I'll be pissed.
Exactly, but that's kind of just how this generation I feel like is so used to treating women. And vice versa. Like I don't think that women always treat men with the most amount of respect either. And I think that social media, and I think that the availability of maybe finding a new partner online kind of contributes to that of like, okay, well, we've all kind of made ourselves disposable in a sense. Does that make sense?
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it cheapens relationships, honestly.
we all need to just bump up our value a little bit more because we're all valuable,
honestly.
and we need to start acting like it.
I'll tell you when, my oldest daughter met this guy, Victor, and, and when they first met and I got to know him a little bit at a lower scale, what I realized about him was he was more on the emotional side in terms of, giving her the emotional needs that she needed. And I know there's a lot of guys that just don't care about women. And that's why I accepted him so quickly, because I was like, I like him. I like him as a human being. He's built the right way. And, my other daughters, that's a whole nother problem. They've been in relationships and these guys come along and they don't give a crap. They just, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? At least try to pretend you care a little bit, right?
I think a big part of that though for me is like not have like my dad not being in my life until I was 15, and being raised by a bunch of different women, like my grandma, my other grandma, my aunt, my other aunt, my mom, just a bunch of women.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe it made me a little bit more emotional.
I think it's a good thing, though.
it is a good thing.
It's made you not like the rest of the men that she's complaining about, which is a real positive.
Because when you think about it, a lot of guys are just conditioned by their fathers to maybe like never let anyone see you cry, like toughen up, like man up.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to be the man of this family one day. Like those kinds of statements, like they make an impact. It
make no sense.
It creates
It
an
doesn't make
environment
any
where
sense.
it doesn't. It creates an environment where men don't feel like they can be
Even
emotional.
cry, yeah.
that
Even
they can-
cry if something bad happens.
Yeah.
A man will still think to this day, "Oh, I'm being a bitch," just for
Yeah.
crying. If somebody passed away, it's like, or if you're, say, for instance, when I was leaving my dad, my dad starts bawling. I'm coming back to Georgia, and he's like, "Oh, I'm being a bitch right now." Like,
No,
you're
you're
not.
not.
You're just being human. Your son's leaving you,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna see him for a long time. So it hurts.
It's natural to feel sad, and your body's response is to cry. Like why are men shamed for being emotional?
Because that's society and how they shaped how men should be.
Because it makes them weak. I think that
Yeah.
it makes them weak to ignore their feelings and let them fester, and then then you have
Come
a whole
back to
bunch
bite.
of other issues.
Yeah, come back to bite you in the ass in a different area of your life, just because you were too bitch to cry.
Well, that, and
Yeah.
you're not really conditioned at that point as a young male to, at that point, build on a relationship with a woman who is emotional and needs that affirmation.
Yeah.
You basically stripped a man of that. You've made them this rugged, tough guy, and they're not.
And it's
It's not working.
If you can't make yourself even like a little bit relatable on an emotional level, like how are you and your partner gonna be able to
Connect.
have a conversation about that? Like,
Yeah.
like say she's feeling a certain type of way, but you're so like rigid in not wanting to be perceived as this emotional guy. Like, how is she gonna feel comfortable talking to you about her emotions, and if she knows that you're not even gonna give her an inch?
Yeah.
No
I'm not
pun
sure where you
intended.
were going with
We're
that.
not talking about penis size.
But-
We're
but-
talking
but-
about like conversations. Like, if you're not going to contribute
Yeah.
to the conversation, like I can come to my, like, say if I went to like my boyfriend, I'm not current. I'm single, but I'm just saying like, if I had a boyfriend and I went to my boyfriend and who was like a very much like a macho guy, like never talked about feelings, like didn't really care to like be emotional in any sort of way. Say I'm like really upset about something, and I went up to him, and it's like I get a nonchalant response of like, "Oh, that sucks." Right?
Wow.
You're
Does
like,
that-
damn,
does that
you're
not-
not emotional
Does
enough.
that not feel like okay, well,
You don't give a shit.
you don't give a shit?
Yeah.
I'm feeling a certain type of way, and I'm trying to communicate that because I maybe want comfort, maybe I want a solution, whatever I need from that conversation, and I get nothing in response. Or it's like a very clinical, like very like, okay, well, you need to do this, this, and this. It's like, well, maybe I just want to be comforted.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Just-
in relationships, though, overthinking it like that can be bad too, because like I said, I'm an emotional person.
Yeah.
But Kylie is not that She's not that emotional of a person. So, and sometimes, like, I do think like that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, why is she not, giving me attention? Or, is she mad? Or like, and I get in my head like that. She's just not that emotional of a person all the time.
Do you think that comes from like a learned? I keep going back to this as I get older, but like a learned behavior of a childhood, because Kylie got a lot of love from me. Not her mother's not an emotional person, so she doesn't like hug, but I would always hug the kids and tell them I love them, and I got that too, to an extent. But the idea behind it is, do you think that plays a role in building a person and shaping them in that direction?
I think she definitely is that way because of
childhood?
Amanda's lack of emotion. She was still
Maybe
a
not
great mom.
emotion.
She was still a great mom to them, but like, just wasn't emotional as like always saying I love you and stuff. That's what Kylie said. I mean, you're busy with 5 kids. You're not gonna have the time to really just say that all the time and everything, but it's her really hard to tell because she shows me she loves me, but it's just not all hugging me, kissing me, and telling me all the time. But she shows me she loves me, and in many different ways.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you attach your like affection to emotion? Because you were saying like there's no emotion, but maybe it's like it's not that it's not emotional, it's just not affectionate, right?
So sometimes I attach the two together, but
Yeah.
you shouldn't, because understanding a person as a whole, then you have to really understand that person. It's so deep.
It is
you
deep.
have
It
to
does.
understand your significant other as well, and the type of person that they are. Because if you don't understand who they are, then you're gonna be miscommunicating all the time. You're gonna take this for that when it's not really, that's not really what they meant.
Yeah.
So it's important to know who you're working with.
And I want to be mindful. How much time do we have?
I got about like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Max.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we could probably continue this as a
Oh, we're gonna have
can
to.
definitely do a part two.
another part 2 and whatnot. Can we do a quick fun? I want to read a couple
Oh God.
pickup lines, and I want to know, like, do these work on you or not? Let's say that the guy is physically attractive.
Okay,
You don't know
context,
anything about.
context.
He walks up to you. He's in the gym, right?
Okay.
And
Best place.
give me 1 second here. I just want to make sure that one more thing. Okay. I'm going to read off a pickup line, and I'm curious, is it a yes or like, no, that ain't working? So I hope you know CPR because you just took my breath away. Corny?
It's corny, but I feel like with the right delivery, because I am CPR certified.
So it's how you say it, not just what you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, Victor's reading.
All right, I'll read
one.
number
Okay.
2. So aside from taking my breath away, what do you do for a living?
Oh my God,
No.
no,
No?
no.
I thought that would be a
What
good
response
one.
does that get? Just leave me alone, please.
It would probably be received with an eye. Like I would probably like roll my eyes and like be like, "That's all. That's the best. That's the best you got."
You're like, I'm at work right now.
Exactly.
You see what I'm doing.
I work at the gym. You know what I do for a living.
How about an old school one? Like, your eyes are like the ocean. I could swim in them all day.
No,
No.
be more original.
Well, tell us some pickup lines that you've heard that worked.
Oh my God. Honestly, I don't really like know any that come to mind. I mean, you have your obvious like, oh my God, did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
That
and
works?
Then you're like, no.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I think
Like,
pickup
they're just
lines are
bad.
past due.
I have
Dang.
when I used to like be on Tinder, it was just like fun for me as like to like mess with people and like send really bad pickup lines, you know?
I'll tell you what the problem is from my perspective as a male. We don't know how to start the process of communication.
No.
No, it's true.
It's true.
That's why they made pickup lines, because we're like, okay, how do we get the ball
Needs to be
rolling?
quick.
And
An icebreaker.
I'll tell you what's really scary. I throw this fake pickup line at you, right? And try to get your attention, and then you're like, okay, that worked. And now I'm like, what do I do now? How do I?
Do you work? Do you go to school? What's your favorite color? And then it's like, oh, okay, he's weird.
Yeah. Well, it feels weird if he's awkward and he's not engaging, right? In a way that's really trying to figure out who you are as a human being. Stop asking stupid shit just because you want to maybe have sex or something, right? Because that's got to be the first thing that guy thinks of. They're not thinking of, I want the perfect mate. They're thinking of it from a physical standpoint.
I feel like if a pickup line is being used, sex is definitely at the top of the mind.
You know a
like,
guy's intention.
But that's always our intention, is it not? We're built
guess.
that way to get started. I'm not saying that it's the only intention forever.
any guy that approaches you wants to just have sex with you, so
He must be physically attracted to you.
I really hope that's not the case, because I'm going to think about that now every single time like a
Hey,
guy
Sean.
comes up and talks
Hey,
to me. I'm like,
Shanti.
oh, I know what you want.
Do you honestly believe that a guy would walk up to you and he's not physically attracted to you and try to make conversation?
try
and
to
you know,
make small talk.
pickup
with you.
line or not, you know that he's trying to make conversation with you.
I mean, I'm not naive, I know, but it's
Okay.
also not something that you want to think about. You don't want to think about yourself as like, maybe I'm just an object to this person, because that's kind of how it could be received in the way that you're saying.
Yeah. Right. So the goal
So
is
it's-
really the guy to continue a conversation and an interest in the woman. Don't
Yeah.
make her feel that way.
We
Don't that's wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong.
Step your game up and don't make her feel like she's an object.
Absolutely.
Seriously, because it's a game. It's a game of communicating in comfort,
And-
making the person feel comfortable, learning about the person. I mean, you got to be genuine too.
I think we should
Honestly.
dig on that on part 2, and that's the part we didn't get into, and that's the part that I want to really dig into, is that part you just mentioned, Victor, which is really important. Communication, digging into the person and whatnot. So we have to be mindful of Shanti's time here, so we're going to
Thank you so much, Shanti,
Thank
for
you.
giving us your time.
We appreciate it. We were
We
happy to have
appreciate
her
it.
on as a guest.